Welcome to Focus Washington. I'm Chuck Conconi, and my guest today is Saleem Zaru, who is Executive Director of the United Palestinian Appeal. Zaru, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me and for your interest in our work and for giving me this opportunity.
Oh, well, good. Well, your organization was founded nearly 40 years ago to deal with the plight of Palestinians. Has there been much impact given the problems and the turbulence in that part of the world?
There has been impact all along, and you have to realize in a state of constant emergency, you have very little opportunity to work in development. Every time there is a new war or a new act of violence or something like that, you're back to square one dealing with relief. Ideally, we would like to be dealing with development, which we are, but there is so much ongoing violence that every time you're looking at a long-term plan, you're refocused on dealing with emergency situations.
Well, what is your focus? I mean, if you talked about a main focus and concern, what would that be in spite of all this?
Our focus, if our focus is really spelled out in our mission statement, which is the first part of our mission statement is to alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people. And that's the relief part. The development part is the second part of the statement, which is to contribute to the long-term socio-economic development of Palestinian communities. Ideally, when I first joined UPA about 5 years ago, I was asked, what's your vision for UPA? I said, my vision for UPA is really to go out of business. And they said, what do you mean go out of business? And I said, once organizations like UPA and others are able and can afford to go out of business, it means the Palestinians have normal conditions, normal living conditions.
But there haven't been normal conditions going back to 1948, and sometimes it seems like it gets worse.
It does get worse. It's unfortunate. It's you got to realize there are deeply rooted issues that cause this to continue, and obviously, you're aware of the political ramifications of the 1948 establishment of the State of Israel and the plight of the Palestinians and everything else. Under these conditions, under these ongoing conditions, dealing with relief and with as little development as you can deal with, the most you can do is cultivate a sense of hope.
But it seems principally in Gaza and in the camps that young people have spent their entire lives in some of the refugee camps, and aren't they breeding grounds for a kind of radicalism? And how do you deal with that?
The way we deal with that is, just like I said a minute ago, is you try to cultivate hope. When people lose all sense of hope, that's when you might be faced with people, going to extremes. But if they have hope, if they don't lose hope, then we're on the right track. And I'll give you an example of some of the things we do to deal with that kind of thing. In Gaza, where I would say about 60% of the people are unemployed. Last year we launched a youth employment project where we targeted people between the ages of 18 and 24. And you look at these kids and they are demoralized, demotivated, really have lost all sense of hope. They can't do much. And we created a small grants project for them where they could get a small grant and a small loan and start a small business. And you come and see them after 6 months and you just see that they have been somewhat transformed. They have a sense of hope. They can put food on the table. In a community where poverty is very common, to give someone the opportunity to put food on the table, to support their family, that's a big thing. That's a big sense of hope and a transformation. And you see this all the time.
It's a big job, though, for a group like yours.
It is.
How much help, if any, do you get from other Arab nations in the region? I mean, we're often told, and I guess rightly so, that the Palestinians are often considered a forgotten people.
Well, they are forgotten on and off as other things in the news, take a priority there. But the thing is, we have to be careful about this. The reason UPA was established in 78 is to find an independent, politically independent instrument in the United States for doing humanitarian work in Palestine and in the refugee camps without any strings attached to any political factions. And as you know, the people with the money, they control the show.
Sure.
And our board was adamant about maintaining that independence. And so you're talking about governments.
Yeah, I'm talking about it's such an enormous job. It takes such an enormous amount of money for one organization. Do you seek help from governments or other Arab charitable organizations?
Yeah.
And are they responding?
They respond, unfortunately, in times of crisis. When there is a war in Gaza, people respond. Organizations respond. Governments respond. Our organization is not focused on governments as much as it is on individuals. And that's part of the way we maintain our independence. We are available for individuals to, if you will, give them a way to put their compassion into action. And we have, throughout the world, we have over 30,000 donors, some of which give as little as $2 a month. Mm-hmm. But they are committed, and they believe in what we're doing, and they find the way we do work in Palestine and in the refugee camps.
Saleem, we're running out of time. I'll just ask one quick last question. If there was an ideal situation for Palestinians, what would that be?
You're talking about a humanitarian situation
Humanitarian,
or political?
Well, both. I mean, they're intertwined.
Of course. There's a saying, if you want to work for peace, you have to work for justice. And if there is justice, there is automatically peace. So the ideal situation would be to have justice for the Palestinians.
That's a great phrase. Saleem, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I'm Chuck Coney, and this has been Focus Washington.